I stood in the middle of my husband's office Christmas gala, 7 months pregnant with twins, wearing a dress from Target. His mistress had just handed me a mop in front of 800 guests. She called me the help. My husband laughed loudest of all. What none of them knew. My father owned that building, all 47 floors, and he had just stepped out of the elevator with FBI agents. But here is the twist nobody saw coming. The real villain was not the mistress. It was someone much closer. Someone who had been planning my destruction for 6 months. Someone I trusted. Tonight you will witness the most satisfying revenge story ever told. Betrayal, billion-dollar secrets. A pregnant wife pushed to her breaking point, and a father who made every single person in that room regret the day they laughed at his daughter. Stay until the very end. The final twist will leave you absolutely speechless. Now let us begin. I stood in the bathroom of my husband's office Christmas gala, 7 months pregnant with twins, wearing a dress from Target. Through the door, I could hear his mistress announcing to 800 guests that I was the help. My husband laughed loudest of all. None of them knew my father owned the building. All 47 floors of it. My phone buzzed, a text from Dad. "I'm in the elevator, sweetheart. Which floor should security clear first?" I smiled at my reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at me looked nothing like Caroline Whitmore, daughter of Theodore Whitmore, the $65 billion tech empire founder. Instead, I looked exactly like what I had pretended to be for 4 years. Kara Mitchell, preschool teacher. Nobody special. That was the whole point. Before I tell you what happened next, I need to take you back to the beginning. Back to why a woman with access to unlimited wealth would choose to live in a 2-bedroom apartment, drive a Honda Civic, and clip coupons for groceries. It started with a man named Bradley. I was 26 years old when Bradley came into my life. Handsome, charming, perfect. We dated for 8 months. I thought he was the one. Then one morning I woke up to find my face plastered across every tabloid in America. Trillionaire heiress secret love nest. Whitmore princess, wild nights exposed. Bradley had sold everything, photos, stories, private details I had shared in confidence. He made $2 million destroying my trust in humanity. That was when I decided to disappear. I changed my name to Kara Mitchell. I moved to a modest neighborhood in Brooklyn. I got a job teaching preschool, something I had always wanted to do anyway. I told no one who I really was. Not my coworkers, not my neighbors, not a single soul. For 3 years, I lived a beautiful, simple life. I was happy for the first time since my mother died when I was 12. No one wanted anything from me except my genuine self. Then I met Derek. It was a Saturday morning at a community garden. I was planting tomatoes. He was volunteering for some corporate social responsibility event, clearly there just to check a box. But when our eyes met, something shifted. Derek Mitchell was 31 years old, handsome in that polished corporate way, with dark hair and green eyes that seemed to see right through me. He asked if I needed help with the heavy bags of soil. I said yes. We talked for 3 hours. Within a week, we were dating. My father was suspicious from the start. I will never forget the conversation we had after I introduced them. Dad had flown in for what he thought was just a casual dinner, disguised as a retired accountant living in Florida. Derek spent the whole evening talking about himself. Afterward, my father pulled me aside. "He looks at you like you are a puzzle to solve, sweetheart, not a person to love." I dismissed his concerns. Dad had never liked any of my boyfriends. I thought he was just being overprotective. Derek proposed after 6 months. I said yes. We had a small ceremony at City Hall. I wore a white sundress. He wore a gray suit. We ate cake from a grocery store bakery and spent our honeymoon in a cabin upstate. It was perfect, or so I believed. For the first 2 years, I thought I had finally found what I was looking for. Derek climbed the corporate ladder at Whitmore Technologies, which was ironic considering he had no idea his wife was the boss's daughter. I played the supportive spouse. I packed his lunches. I listened to his complaints about difficult clients. I pretended I did not notice when he started working late more and more often. Here is something I learned the hard way, and I am sharing it with you because I wish someone had shared it with me. When someone shows you who they are during small moments, believe them. How they treat waiters, how they react when plans change, how they speak about others when they think no one important is listening. I saw Derek snap at a homeless man once, called him a worthless drain on society. I made excuses. He was stressed from work. He did not mean it. Everyone has bad days. Do not make excuses. I am begging you. Do not make the same mistake I did. When I got pregnant, I thought we had reached the peak of our happiness. Twins, a boy and a girl. I spent weeks planning how to decorate the nursery. But that was when everything changed. The first crack appeared 8 months before the Christmas gala. I was sitting on our bathroom floor holding 2 positive pregnancy tests, tears of joy streaming down my face. I could not wait to tell Derek. He was going to be a father. We were going to be a family. When he came home from work that night, I had prepared his favorite dinner. Steak, medium rare, roasted potatoes, a bottle of sparkling cider since I could not drink wine anymore. I handed him the pregnancy test wrapped in a little box with a ribbon. His face went through several emotions as he opened it. Confusion, recognition, and then something I did not expect. Panic. Are you sure it is mine? He laughed after he said it, played it off as a joke. Ha ha, just kidding, of course it is mine. But something in his eyes had changed, something cold had crept in. Over the following weeks, Derek became a different person. He stopped touching me. He moved to the guest room, claiming my pregnancy hormones were too much and he needed better sleep for work. He started coming home late, sometimes past midnight, always smelling of expensive perfume that was not mine. One night in May, I asked him to feel the baby's kick. They were so active that evening, doing somersaults inside me. Not now, Lonnie. I am exhausted. He did not even look up from his phone. Lonnie. He used to call me sweetheart. Honey. Beautiful. Now I was just Lonnie, spoken like a burden. Then came the jewelry. I was paying our credit card bill when I noticed a charge for $3,000 at a high-end jewelry store. My heart lifted for a moment. Maybe Derek was planning a surprise. Maybe things were not as bad as I thought. But my birthday came and went. Our anniversary came and went. No jewelry appeared. Yet I kept seeing charges. Diamond earrings, a tennis bracelet, a pendant necklace. All purchased, none received. I began checking his phone when he showered. His texts were clean. His call log showed only work contacts. He was careful, but not careful enough. In June, Derek's mother, Margaret, came to visit. Margaret Mitchell was 68 years old, tall and thin with silver hair always pulled back in a severe bun. She came from old money, though Derek had mentioned once that her family had lost most of their fortune before he was born. She carried herself like a queen visiting peasants. From the moment we met, Margaret had made her disapproval clear. I was not sophisticated enough, not educated enough, not wealthy enough. I came from nothing, and in her eyes, I would always be nothing. During this visit, she brought me a gift, a beautiful silk scarf, deep emerald green. For you, Caroline. She always called me by my full name, never Cara. You need something elegant to wear. That wardrobe of yours is rather plain. I thanked her genuinely. It was a beautiful scarf. I did not know then that she had sewn a tracking device into the lining. I did not know that she had been monitoring my movements for months, slowly building a file on me. I did not know that Margaret Mitchell had discovered my true identity 6 months earlier and had been orchestrating my destruction ever since. That dinner, Margaret made passive-aggressive comments about my cooking, my apartment, my career. A preschool teacher. She said it like it was a disease. Such important work. Though I suppose someone has to wipe noses and change diapers. Derek said nothing. He stared at his plate and let his mother tear me apart piece by piece. Later that night, after Margaret had gone to sleep in our guest room, I confronted him. Why did you not defend me? She was cruel tonight. Derek sighed like I was the one being unreasonable. That is just how she is, Cara. You are too sensitive. Try harder to get along with her. I lay awake that night, one hand on my growing belly, and something became crystal clear. Trust your gut. I cannot stress this enough. When something feels wrong in your relationship, it usually is. I spent 3 months convincing myself I was being paranoid. I was not paranoid. Your intuition is your survival instinct. It evolved over millions of years to keep you safe. Your lying husband did not. By August, I could not ignore the truth any longer. I hired a private investigator. I paid cash using my maiden name, something I had not used in 4 years. I did not use any of my family connections. I wanted to handle this like any desperate wife would. The investigator's name was Frank Morrison, a retired cop with a weathered face and kind eyes. He did not ask why I suspected my husband. He just nodded and said he would be in touch. 1 week later, Frank called me. "Mrs. Mitchell, I have your report. Are you somewhere you can talk privately?" I was sitting in my car outside the preschool where I worked. The children had just been picked up. The parking lot was empty. "Yes, tell me." What followed was 10 minutes that destroyed what remained of my marriage. Frank had photographs. Derek and his assistant, Jessica Blake, in hotel rooms, at candlelit dinners, walking hand in hand through Central Park, kissing in the back of a taxi. Jessica Blake, 29 years old, Chief Marketing Officer at Whitmore Technologies. Blonde hair, perfect figure, ambitious smile. I had met her twice at company events. Both times she had looked at me like I was something unpleasant stuck to her designer heel. But the worst was yet to come. "Mrs. Mitchell, there is more." Frank's voice was heavy. "The jewelry charges you noticed? I tracked the purchases. He bought her diamond earrings last month. The same earrings you admired at that store, remember? The ones he said were too expensive?" I remembered. We had walked past a jewelry store window and I had pointed out a pair of stunning diamond earrings. "So beautiful," I had said. Derek had laughed. "Maybe when I make VP," he had replied. "Those are way out of our budget." He bought them for her. The exact pair. There was one more photograph. Derek and Jessica in a jewelry store, looking at engagement rings. Her finger extended as the salesperson slipped a diamond onto it. "He is planning to leave you," Frank said softly. "I'm sorry." I sat in that parking lot and cried for an hour. Then I called my best friend, Elena Sullivan. Elena was the only person on earth besides my father who knew my true identity. We had been friends since college, before Bradley, before the tabloid disaster, before I became Kara Mitchell. She was an ER nurse with a no-nonsense attitude and a heart of gold. I told her everything, the affair, the jewelry, the ring. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I do not know yet, but I am not going to fall apart, not in front of him." That night I made dinner like everything was normal. Derek came home smelling like Chanel. He kissed my cheek with lips that had probably been on another woman an hour earlier. "How was your day, sweetheart?" I asked. "Busy, lots of meetings." He did not even look at me. Later, after he thought I was asleep, I heard him on the phone in the bathroom. "The divorce will be easy." His voice was confident. "She has nothing. Her father is some retired accountant in Florida. I will take the apartment, half her savings, and be done with the dead weight. The babies complicate things, but my lawyer says with her income I will barely owe child support." I lay in bed, hand on my belly, listening to my husband plan my destruction. Dead weight, that is what he called me. The woman carrying his children. I whispered to my twins in the darkness. "Do not worry. Your mama may have been stupid about your daddy, but I am not stupid about you. You are wanted, you are loved, and we are going to be okay." In September, I called my father for the first time in months. "Dad, I need your help." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. My father, Theodore Whitmore, was 67 years old and controlled a business empire worth $65 billion. He had warned me about Derek from the beginning. He had every right to say I told you so. Instead, he said, "I have been waiting for this call, sweetheart." "I am so sorry. Tell me everything." I told him about the affair, the phone call I overheard, the engagement ring Derek was buying for another woman. I told him about Margaret's cruelty and Derek's indifference. I told him that my husband was planning to divorce me and take everything he could. When I finished, my father was quiet for a moment. "I have something to tell you, Kara. I have been watching Derek for a while now. Something did not sit right with me about his rapid promotions. I had my people look into his work. What did you find? Embezzlement, $4.7 million in falsified expense reports over 2 years, hotels, dinners, luxury travel, all billed to client entertainment accounts that do not exist. He has also buried at least 3 harassment complaints from female employees. His mistress helped cover them up." I closed my eyes. The man I married was worse than a cheater. He was a criminal. "What do you want to do?" my father asked. I can have him arrested tomorrow. Or I can buy his division and fire him quietly. Or we can do something more public. Your choice, sweetheart. I thought about it. For days, I thought about it. And then I made a decision. I want to see who he really is, Dad. I want him to show the world what he is capable of when the mask comes off. The Whitmore Technologies Christmas Gala is in December. 800 people. The biggest event of the year. You want to wait until then? I want to give him the rope. Let him hang himself in front of everyone who matters. My father was quiet for a moment. Then he laughed, a proud sound I had not heard in years. That is my girl. Let us start planning. Over the next 2 months, we prepared for what we called Operation Christmas Truth. My father's security team, led by a former Secret Service agent named James Crawford, began compiling evidence: bank records, emails, text messages, security footage. Everything Derek and Jessica had tried to hide, we found. We discovered something unexpected along the way. Someone had been asking questions about me at Whitmore Technologies. Discreet inquiries about whether I had any family connections. We assumed it was Jessica being paranoid. We were wrong. It was Margaret. In October, my father shared another piece of information that changed everything. Margaret Mitchell knows who you are, he said. My people intercepted communications. She found out 6 months ago. My blood ran cold. Margaret knows. She has been orchestrating everything. She pushed Derek toward Jessica. She planted the idea of divorce. She has been receiving payments from Jessica's father in exchange for ensuring Derek marries Jessica instead of staying with you. Why? What does she gain? Control, power. Jessica's family has political connections. Margaret wants to rebuild her family's status using those connections. She has essentially been selling her own son. I sat with this information for a long time. The mother-in-law who criticized my cooking, who looked down her nose at my career, who gave me a tracking device disguised as a gift. She had been the puppet master all along. In November, Derek came home excited about the Christmas gala. Leilani, this is my chance to shine. The CEO himself is attending. I am being considered for vice president. He looked at my pregnant belly with something like annoyance. You should probably stay home. You have been tired, and this is a really important night for me. I smiled sweetly. I would not miss it for the world. His face fell, but only for a second. That night, I heard him on the phone again. Do not worry. She probably will not even come. And if she does, she will not stay long. She does not fit in with these people. Little did he know, those people worked for my father. That building bore my family name. The champagne they would drink, the food they would eat, the very floor they would stand on. All of it belonged to the woman he called dead weight. I packed a special envelope in my purse. Divorce papers, pre-signed. I was ready. December 20th arrived cold and clear. Snow had fallen overnight, blanketing New York City in white. I dressed deliberately that morning. A simple navy blue maternity dress borrowed from Elena. An old brown coat I had owned since before my marriage. Flat shoes, no jewelry, no makeup beyond the basics. I wanted to see exactly how Derek would treat me when I was an embarrassment to him. Derek left early that afternoon without offering me a ride. See you there, he said over his shoulder. Try not to be late. I took a taxi. When I arrived at Whitmore Tower, my breath caught despite everything. I had helped design this building when I was 15 years old, sketching ideas in my father's office while dreaming about architecture. Now I stood at its base, an outsider in my own legacy. The atrium had been transformed into a winter wonderland. A 60-foot Christmas tree dominated the center of the space, its branches draped with lights and ornaments that sparkled like stars. A snow machine created gentle flurries that disappeared before touching the marble floors. Ice sculptures of reindeer and angels lined the walls. White birch trees wrapped in golden lights created intimate seating areas. 800 people milled about in designer gowns and custom tuxedos, drinking champagne that cost more than my monthly salary as a preschool teacher. The orchestra played elegant holiday music. Laughter and conversation filled the air. And then there was me. Navy maternity dress, old brown coat, flat shoes. I approached the coat check, where a young woman in a crisp uniform looked me up and down. Ma'am, this area is for guests only. I am a guest. I am Derek Mitchell's wife. Her eyebrow rose skeptically. She looked at my outfit, then at the elegant women passing by in their furs and sequins.
I should get my
I
beans and
see.
know these
Well,
things.
I will need to verify that. Please wait here. Before she could make her call, a security guard approached. Ma'am, can I see your invitation? My husband has it. Derek Mitchell, Senior Vice President of Marketing. The guard and the coat check attendant exchanged glances. The kind of glance that said they did not believe me. I will need you to wait in the lobby while we sort this out. That was when Derek appeared.
I've
He
bought a
wore a
lot of
custom
stuff
navy
with this
velvet tuxedo I had never
so
seen
and
before.
whatnot,
His hair was perfectly styled.
and
A watch glittered on his wrist that cost more than 6 months of rent.
I decided,
He looked
you know
like he
what,
belonged
I'm gonna
here.
give him some
When he
more
saw
love.
me,
He
his
had
face
a
went through
bad
several
day,
emotions. Shock,
and I thought,
anger, disgust.
let's try
He grabbed
it.
my arm and pulled me to a corner.
So
What are you
yeah,
doing
he's,
here? His voice was low and harsh. I told you to stay home. You invited me, I said it calmly. This is a company party. I am your wife, Lloyd. He looked at my outfit, his lip curled. You look like you do not belong here. I waited for him to say something else, to offer me his jacket, to escort me to a quiet table, to show even a glimmer of the man I thought I had married. Maybe you should have just stayed home, he said instead. Before I could respond, a voice like honey laced with poison called out from behind us. Hudson, there you are. I turned to see Jessica Blake gliding toward us. She was stunning. A silver sequined gown that hugged every curve, backless, with a slit up to her thigh. A diamond necklace caught the light with every movement. Her platinum heels made her tower over me. She looked like a Christmas angel, an expensive, vengeful angel. Jessica linked her arm through an older executive's arm, but her eyes were locked on Derek. Possessive, triumphant. Oh, Derek, I did not know we were doing charity work tonight. Her gaze swept over me, lingering on my belly, my dress, my old coat. Is this the wife you mentioned? How quaint.
What are you doing
She reached out
today?
and touched Derek's chest. Her fingers played with his lapel. He did not move away. I felt every eye in the vicinity turn to us. Someone pulled out their phone. The humiliation had begun. The next 2 hours were a masterclass in cruelty. Jessica made sure everyone knew exactly what she thought of me. She introduced me to group after group as Derek's little situation. She commented on my dress loud enough for others to hear.
Oh yeah, what
Target or
happened?
Walmart, I can never tell with polyester. Derek stayed by her side the entire time.
I used to
When colleagues
love
approached him,
Mario.
he introduced Jessica as his invaluable partner. He did not introduce me at all. At one point, an elderly board member named William Ashford approached me with genuine kindness.
Dude, I would
You must be
love to
Derek's
meet your
wife.
family.
Congratulations on the pregnancy. Twins, I hear? Thank you, I said gratefully. It was the first kind word anyone had spoken to me all evening. William was 78 years old with white hair and warm brown eyes. He reminded me of my grandfather. My wife was mocked at her first society event, he said softly. 60 years ago, she wore the wrong dress. They called her a farm girl. She went on to run 3 charities and was beloved by everyone who mattered. He patted my hand. The people who mock are always the people who do not matter, dear. For a moment, I felt hope. Not everyone here was cruel. Then came the gift exchange. It was a company tradition. Executives exchanged expensive presents, names drawn randomly, except someone had added my name to the list. When the announcer called Mrs. Derek Mitchell, I had to walk to the stage in front of everyone. 800 pairs of eyes watched me waddle up the stairs. Someone snickered. I heard whispers about my dress, my shoes, my hair. On the stage, a beautifully wrapped box waited for me. I opened it slowly. Inside, I found a maid's uniform, cleaning supplies, an apron with glittering letters that spelled "The Help," and a card for the woman who cleaned up after Derek's mistakes. Here is something for your real job. The crowd gasped. Then someone laughed. Then more people laughed. Derek laughed loudest of all. Jessica's voice rang out across the ballroom. Oh, honey, do not cry. We thought you would appreciate practical gifts, since Derek mentioned you are worried about money after the divorce. After the divorce. She said it like it was common knowledge. I looked at my husband. His face showed embarrassment, but not for me, of me. I carried the box back to my table with shaking hands. That was when I learned something crucial. Something I want you to remember. Public humiliation only has power if you accept the shame they are offering you. I looked around at those laughing faces and thought, these people do not know me. Their opinion of me is none of my business. But their actions? Those were going to be everyone's business soon. The night continued. Jessica made comments about my weight, about how some women let themselves go during pregnancy, about how Derek deserved better. Then came the moment that would change everything. A waiter accidentally spilled red wine near my table. It splashed across the white marble floor. Jessica's voice rang out. "Oh no, someone clean this immediately." She looked directly at me. Her eyes glittered with malice. She reached for the mop from my gift box and held it out toward me. "Well, you have the supplies. Make yourself useful since you are clearly not here for conversation. Come on, the help should help, right?" The room fell silent. Everyone was watching. Phones were out, recording. I looked at Derek, my husband, the father of my children. Silently, I begged him to defend me, to say something, anything. He avoided my eyes, let out a nervous laugh. "Vanessa, you are terrible." But he was smiling. Then he looked at me with something like pity. "Honey, maybe you should just go home. You look tired. This is not really your scene." Something inside me broke. But it was not my spirit. It was the last chain holding back my true self. I stood up slowly, 7 months pregnant, and looked at the mop in Jessica's outstretched hand. The room was completely silent. Even the orchestra had stopped playing. I did not take the mop. Instead, I looked at Derek. "Do you love her?" he stammered. "What? I mean, that is not relevant right now." Jessica wrapped her arm around him possessively. "Does it matter? He chose me." Derek actually stepped away from me. "Oh, just go home, Kara. You are making a scene." I smiled then, a real smile. "You are right, I am going home, to my home." Jessica laughed. "Your home? You mean Derek's apartment? We will see about that." Before I could respond, a voice cut through the crowd. Margaret Mitchell emerged from a cluster of executives. She had been watching the whole time, waiting. How touching, making friends with the fossils. She nodded toward William Ashford, who had gone to get me a glass of water. "But then again, you do like attaching yourself to wealthy old men, do you not, Miss Whitmore?" The name hit me like a physical blow. She knew. Oh yes. Margaret's smile was venomous. "I have known for 6 months. Did you think I would let my son marry Theodore Whitmore's daughter without investigating?" The crowd began murmuring. "Whitmore? As in the Whitmore?" Margaret raised her voice so everyone could hear. "I just discovered something fascinating. Everyone. Apparently, our little preschool teacher has been lying about her identity. Her real name is Caroline Whitmore, as in that Whitmore. She has been deceiving my son for 4 years." The murmurs became gasps. The narrative was flipping. Now I was the villain. Jessica seized the moment. She grabbed a microphone from a nearby stand. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have all been deceived. This woman pretended to be poor to trap Derek Mitchell into marriage. She is actually a billionaire's daughter who lied about everything." "What kind of sick game is that?" The crowd turned on me. Phones pointed in my direction. Social media was probably exploding already. Derek's face was a mask of shock and betrayal. His shock read as genuine. Suddenly, he was the victim. "You have been lying to me for 4 years. You are a Whitmore." I opened my mouth to explain, to defend myself, but before I could speak, a sharp pain tore through my abdomen. "No, not now, please, not now." I doubled over. Water gushed down my legs. My water had broken. 7 months pregnant with twins. Too early. I collapsed to the floor, gasping in pain. "Someone call an ambulance," I managed to say. But instead of helping, people stepped back, like I was contagious. Jessica's voice dripped with contempt. "Oh, please. She is faking for sympathy. Classic manipulation." No one moved to help me. I lay on the cold marble floor, possibly losing my babies, surrounded by people who thought I was the villain. Derek stood frozen. He did not come to me. Margaret smiled, then Elena appeared. My best friend had snuck in as catering staff, wearing a white server's uniform. She had been watching from the shadows all night. She rushed to my side and dropped to her knees. "Someone call 911, her voice was commanding. ER nurse voice. "She is in preterm labor." People began pulling out phones. Finally, paramedics arrived within minutes. They stabilized me, checked the baby's heartbeats, loaded me onto a stretcher. I thought the nightmare was over. I thought I would go to the hospital, have my babies, and disappear with my father's help. I was wrong. Margaret stepped forward with security guards and a man in a suit. "Before you take her anywhere," she announced, "we are filing emergency custody documentation." What? Given her history of deception and clearly unstable mental state, the Mitchell family will be seeking full custody of those children. Security guards moved to block the stretcher. The lawyer spoke in a cold, clinical voice. "We have documentation showing Ms. Whitmore has been living under false pretenses, has deceived her husband about fundamental aspects of her identity, and has demonstrated pattern behavior consistent with psychological instability. They were trying to take my babies before they were even born." I lay on that stretcher, in pain, terrified, watching my children be stolen from me before they took their first breath. "Please," I sobbed, "please do not take my babies." My phone buzzed, a text from my father. "I am 5 minutes away, sweetheart. Hang on." But 5 minutes felt like 5 years as I lay there helpless. The elevator doors opened. Theodore Whitmore stepped into the atrium. My father is 67 years old with silver hair and a presence that commands attention. He wore a charcoal wool tuxedo with platinum cufflinks. He looked every inch the billionaire he was. Behind him walked 6 members of his security team, led by James Crawford, 2 FBI agents in dark suits, SEC investigators, his personal lawyer, his own medical team. The room went absolutely silent. My father scanned the crowd. His eyes found me on the stretcher, surrounded by security guards trying to take my children. His jaw clenched with barely controlled fury. He walked toward me. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. Derek stumbled forward, hand extended, his face a mask of desperate hope. "Mr. Whitmore, sir, I am Derek Mitchell, Senior Vice President of Marketing. I am such an admirer of your work." My father held up one hand without looking at him. Derek's mouth snapped shut. My father reached me and his voice softened. "Did someone hurt you, sweetheart?" The room went dead silent. You could hear the artificial snow falling. "Sweetheart," someone whispered. Then another. "Did he say sweetheart?" My father gently took my hand. "I am sorry I am late, Princess. Traffic was terrible." He turned to face the security guards blocking my stretcher. His voice could have frozen the champagne in people's glasses. "Remove your hands from my daughter's stretcher in the next 3 seconds, or I will have you arrested for assault and sue your families into generational poverty." 1, 2, the guards scattered. My father looked at Margaret's lawyer. "A man named Blackwell, according to his name tag. Mr. Blackwell, you are filing custody paperwork against my daughter?" He smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. "Interesting choice. I believe you are also handling the Whitmore Technologies pension fund lawsuit. Or you were. You are fired, and your firm is dropped from all Whitmore contracts effective immediately." Blackwell went pale. He backed away without a word. My father's medical team took over. They checked my vitals, confirmed the babies were stable, gave me medication to stop the contractions. I was going to be okay. My babies were going to be okay. But the night was far from over. My father turned to face the 800 guests. "Ladies and gentlemen," he did not need a microphone. His voice carried perfectly. "I apologize for interrupting your evening, but since you have all been so interested in my daughter's life, I thought I would share some information about the people who have been tormenting her." He snapped his fingers. James Crawford and his team began setting up portable screens around the atrium. FBI agents moved to stand near Derek, Jessica, and Margaret. No one breathed. The silence in that ballroom was so thick you could hear a pin drop on the marble floor. My father stood in the center of the atrium, 800 people frozen around him, like statues in a museum of shame. The Christmas lights twinkled mockingly above. The artificial snow continued to fall, landing on the heads of people who had laughed at me just minutes ago. "Someone want to explain?" my father said slowly, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "Why, my daughter, my pregnant daughter, was handed cleaning supplies as a joke." Gasps echoed through the ballroom. Someone dropped a champagne glass. It shattered, but no one moved to clean it up. Derek stumbled forward, his custom velvet tuxedo suddenly looking cheap against my father's presence. His face was ghost white. Sweat beaded on his forehead. "Mr. Whitmore, sir, I can explain. I had no idea she was your daughter. If I had known, I would never have." "If you had known what?" my father interrupted, his voice ice cold. You would have treated her with basic human decency? You would have defended her when your mistress called her the help? You would have caught her when she collapsed instead of stepping back like a coward? He took one step toward Derek. Each word was a hammer blow. That should not require knowing her net worth, Mr. Mitchell. That should require only knowing she is a human being, that she is your wife, that she is carrying your children. Derek's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. My father snapped his fingers. James Crawford and his team had finished setting up portable screens around the atrium. They flickered to life simultaneously. Let us start with you, Mr. Mitchell, since you enjoy being the center of attention so much. The first image appeared. Bank records, expense reports, emails with highlighted sections. Derek Mitchell, 3 years with my company, recently promoted to senior vice president. My father's voice was clinical, like a surgeon describing an operation. Also responsible for $4.7 million in embezzlement. The crowd erupted in shocked whispers. That is a lie, Derek shouted. I would never steal from the company. Would you not? My father raised one eyebrow. Then please explain these falsified expense reports. Hotels billed to client entertainment accounts that do not exist. Luxury dinners charged to projects that were never approved. Weekend getaways to the Hamptons listed as business travel. More images appeared on the screens. Derek and Jessica in hotel rooms. Restaurant receipts signed in his handwriting. The jewelry purchases. Credit card statements showing thousands of dollars spent on a woman who was not his wife. All of this, my father continued, to fund your affair with Miss Jessica Blake, while your pregnant wife clipped coupons and wore borrowed dresses. Someone in the crowd whispered loud enough for everyone to hear. He spent company money on his mistress while his wife shopped at Target. The whispers grew louder. The mood in the room was shifting. I could feel it from my stretcher. These same people who had laughed at me were now looking at Derek with disgust. But my father was not finished. Additionally, we have documentation of 3 sexual harassment complaints filed against Mr. Mitchell over the past 2 years, all of which were mysteriously buried by Miss Jessica Blake in her capacity as chief marketing officer. Derek's face crumpled. His perfectly styled hair was starting to fall across his sweaty forehead. Sir, I can explain. Those complaints were exaggerated. The women misunderstood my intentions. I was just being friendly. Friendly? My father's voice could have frozen fire. Let me read you some quotes from these complaints. He pulled out a paper from his jacket. Quote, he told me I would never get promoted unless I was nicer to him. End quote. Quote, he said my skirt was too long and I should show more skin if I wanted to succeed. End quote. Quote, he cornered me in his office and said no one would believe me if I reported him because he was too valuable to the company. End quote. The crowd was completely silent now. Several women had tears in their eyes. A few men looked like they wanted to disappear into the floor. But wait, my father held up his hand. There is more. He gestured to James Crawford, who pulled up text message screenshots on the screens. These are text messages between Mr. Mitchell and Miss Blake, dated 3 months ago. The messages appeared, large enough for everyone to read. Derek, when are we getting rid of the pregnant problem? Jessica, soon, baby. After the divorce, she will be nothing. Derek, I cannot wait. The pregnancy is making her even more pathetic than usual. Jessica, just a few more months, then it is just us. No fat wife, no screaming babies. Derek, perfect. You are perfect. The gasps that followed were loud enough to shake the chandeliers. That would be my grandchildren, my father said quietly, that Mr. Mitchell was referring to as a problem. My grandchildren, who almost died tonight because of the stress caused by the people in this room. An FBI agent in a dark suit stepped forward. Derek Mitchell, you are under arrest for wire fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy to commit fraud. Derek looked wildly around the room. His eyes landed on me on the stretcher, then on Jessica, who was trying to inch toward the exit, then on his mother, who stood frozen with her champagne glass still in her hand. This is insane, he shouted. You cannot do this to me. I have rights. I want a lawyer. My mother knows important people. You have the right to remain silent. The agent pulled out handcuffs. I suggest you use it. As they clicked the handcuffs around Derek's wrists, he started to cry. Actually cry. tears streaming down his face, snot running from his nose. Kara, please. He looked at me desperately. I love you. I made mistakes, but I love you. Tell them to stop. You can make this all go away. Please. I looked at him calmly from my stretcher. You called our babies a pregnant problem. You laughed while your mistress humiliated me. You told me to go home like I was garbage you wanted to throw away. I paused. That is not love, Derek. That is cruelty. And cruelty has consequences. They led him away. He was still crying, still begging. The man who had looked so powerful an hour ago, so handsome in his custom tuxedo, now looked like exactly what he was, a coward, a cheater, a criminal. But my father was far from finished. He turned to Jessica Blake, who had almost reached the exit. Going somewhere, Miss Blake. Security guards blocked her path. She spun around, her beautiful face twisted with rage. This is harassment. I will sue you. I will sue this entire company. Will you? My father smiled, but there was no warmth in it. With what credentials? The Harvard MBA you never earned? The marketing awards from organizations that do not exist? The references from politicians who have never heard your name? Those are administrative errors. Her voice was shaking. We also have recordings. My father nodded to James Crawford. Play them. A woman's voice filled the atrium. Jessica's voice. I do not care if she is the Pope's daughter. I want her gone. Derek is mine. That fat pregnant cow can crawl back to whatever hole she came from. Her babies are probably not even his anyway. She probably got pregnant on purpose to trap him. Pathetic. The crowd murmured in disgust. Several women openly glared at Jessica. My father's voice was final. Miss Blake, you are terminated immediately. Security will escort you to clean out your desk. You have 10 minutes. After that, you are trespassing. You cannot do this, Jessica screamed. I know things about this company. I will expose everything. Please do. My father smiled. I am sure the FBI would love to hear about your involvement in bearing harassment complaints and falsifying expense reports. Would you like me to introduce you to the agents? Jessica's face went pale. She looked around wildly, but there was no escape. Security began escorting her out. She fought them, kicking and screaming, her silver sequin gown tearing at the seams. Her careful makeup ran down her face in black rivers. Her perfect hair came loose from its pins. You will regret this, she screamed as they dragged her toward the door. All of you will regret this. She is the liar. She is the one who deceived everyone. The doors closed behind her. Her screams faded into silence. But my father was still not finished. The most interesting villain tonight, he said, and his voice was almost gentle now, is not Derek or Jessica. He turned to face Margaret Mitchell, who had been standing frozen near the ice sculpture of an angel. It is you. Margaret drew herself up. She was trying to look dignified, but her hands were shaking. I have no idea what you are implying, Mr. Whitmore. I am simply a mother who wanted to protect her son from a woman who lied about her identity. My father smiled. Really? Then let me enlighten everyone about what real deception looks like. New images appeared on the screens. Bank transfers, emails, phone records, photographs of Margaret meeting with men in suits. Margaret Mitchell discovered my daughter's true identity 6 months ago. My father's voice was calm, methodical. She hired a private investigator. She found out that the woman her son married was actually Caroline Whitmore, heir to a $65 billion fortune. From the crowd, Derek's voice rang out. The FBI agents had paused near the door to let him witness this. You knew? His voice cracked. You knew who she was for 6 months and you never told me? Margaret's face tightened. I was protecting you. Protecting me? By lying to me? By pushing me toward Jessica? By destroying my marriage? My father continued relentlessly. Instead of telling her son the truth, Mrs. Mitchell began orchestrating a plan to destroy my daughter's marriage. She pushed Derek toward Jessica Blake. She planted the idea of divorce. She organized tonight's humiliation down to the last detail. That is absurd, Margaret snapped, but her voice was losing its confidence. Why would I want that? Because Jessica Blake's father has been paying you. The silence that followed was so absolute you could hear heartbeats. $150,000 over 6 months. My father gestured to the screen showing bank transfers, in exchange for ensuring Derek divorced my daughter and married Jessica instead. The Blake family has political connections. Connections Mrs. Mitchell wanted access to so she could rebuild her family's fallen status. He paused. She essentially sold her own son. Derek stared at his mother with devastation in his eyes, tears still wet on his cheeks. You sold me? For money? You manipulated my entire marriage, my entire life, for $150,000? Margaret's composure finally cracked. Her champagne glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the marble floor. You do not understand, she said desperately. Our family lost everything when your father died. I was trying to rebuild what we had. Jessica's connections could have made us powerful again. I was doing it for you. For me? Derek laughed bitterly. You destroyed my life for me? I loved Kara. I actually loved her in the beginning before you started poisoning me against her. Before you told me she was not good enough. Before you pushed Jessica into my path. He looked at me then, really looked at me for the first time in months. I am so sorry, Kara. His voice broke. I am so sorry for everything. I did not respond. Sorry was just a word. And words meant nothing without actions. My father stepped forward, standing directly in front of Margaret. My daughter hid her wealth because people like you exist. Because she wanted to be loved for who she was, not for her bank account. The only deception here is yours, Mrs. Mitchell. He turned to address the entire room. Let this be a lesson to everyone present. Whitmore Technologies was built on family values, loyalty, integrity, and respect. What happened tonight was the opposite. Tonight I witnessed my pregnant daughter humiliated, mocked, nearly harmed, and almost robbed of her children before they were even born. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. Anyone who participated in humiliating my daughter tonight has 1 week to submit a written apology to her directly. After that week, anyone who has not apologized will join Mr. Mitchell and Miss Blake in unemployment. There was an immediate scramble. Executives rushed toward my stretcher like their careers depended on it. Because they did. Mrs. Whitmore, we are so sorry. We had no idea who you were. I looked at them calmly. My hand rested on my belly where my twins were finally calm. You knew I was pregnant. You knew I was someone's wife. You knew I was a human being standing in front of you asking for basic kindness. I paused. That should have been enough. 1 year later, I stood in the same atrium where my life had fallen apart. But everything was different now. I was different now. I wore an elegant emerald gown that matched my eyes, custom designed by a fashion house that had begged to dress me. My hair was styled in soft waves that cascaded over my shoulders. Diamond earrings sparkled at my ears, not bought by any man, but chosen by me, for me, because I deserved beautiful things. At my side in a luxury double stroller, my twins slept peacefully. Hope Caroline Whitmore and Nathaniel Theodore Whitmore. 9 months old and absolutely perfect. 10 fingers, 10 toes, and their grandmother's smile. The Christmas gala was in full swing around me. The same orchestra, the same decorations, the same snow machine, creating gentle flurries overhead. But this time, I was not an outcast standing in a borrowed dress. I was the guest of honor. Mrs. Whitmore. William Ashford approached with a warm smile, his wife Catherine on his arm. The same kind board member who had offered me his jacket when everyone else was laughing. You look absolutely radiant. Thank you, William, and thank you for everything this past year. You and Catherine have been like grandparents to the twins. Catherine beamed at the sleeping babies. They are the image of their mother, strong and beautiful, and so well behaved. My grandchildren never slept this peacefully at parties. I laughed. Trust me, they have their moments. Nathaniel has his father's lungs. When he cries, the whole neighborhood knows. I could say that because it was true, and because I had reclaimed even the hard parts of my story. My children would know who their father was, but they would also know who their mother was, and that mattered more. My father appeared at my side. He looked tired but happy, running a $65 billion empire while helping his daughter rebuild her life had taken its toll. There were new lines around his eyes, more silver in his hair. But when he smiled at me, he looked 10 years younger. How are you feeling, sweetheart? Good, I smiled back. Really good. And it was true. For the first time in years, it was actually true. The past year had been the hardest of my life, but also the most transformative. I had given birth to the twins via emergency C-section on Christmas Eve. They came 6 weeks early. They spent 2 weeks in the NICU, hooked up to machines, fighting for every breath. I sat by their incubators for 14 days straight. I did not sleep. I did not eat. I just talked to them, sang to them, told them stories about who their mother really was. You come from strong women, I whispered to them through the incubator glass. Your grandmother survived cancer for 3 years before she died. Your great-grandmother raised 4 children during the Depression. And your mother survived something too. We are survivors, all of us. They came home on January 8th, healthy, strong, perfect. The divorce was finalized in record time. Derek signed everything from his jail cell. He did not fight for custody. He did not fight for assets. He did not fight for anything. Maybe he finally understood what he had lost. Or maybe he was just too broken to fight. He was convicted of embezzlement and fraud in March. The judge sentenced him to 12 years in federal prison. He stood in his orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed in front of him, and cried as the sentence was read. I did not attend the trial. I did not need to see him broken. I had already seen enough. He writes me letters sometimes. They arrive at my father's office because I refuse to give him my address. Dear Kara, they usually begin, I'm so sorry. I was blind. I was stupid. I did not deserve you. Please forgive me. Please let me see my children. I have changed. I am a different man now. I do not read them. My assistant summarizes them for me, and then they go into a file that my lawyer keeps for custody documentation. Forgiveness is one thing. I have forgiven Derek. Not for him, but for me. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. But forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. It does not mean I answer his letters. It does not mean I expose my children to a man who called them a problem. He gets supervised visitation once a month, 2 hours in a monitored facility. That is more than he deserves. Jessica Blake lost everything. The criminal charges against her were dropped in exchange for her testimony against Derek and Margaret. But her career was over. She was blacklisted from every major company in America. No one would hire the woman who had been exposed as a fraud, a homewrecker, and an accomplice to harassment. Last I heard, she moved to a small town in Nevada. She works at a mall kiosk selling phone cases. Her social media, once full of luxury travel and designer clothes, has been deleted entirely. Some people say I should feel sorry for her. I do not. She made her choices. She lived with the consequences. Margaret Mitchell was disowned by her own family. Her sister and brother, horrified by what she had done, cut all ties. Her country club membership was revoked. Her charity board positions were terminated. Her friends stopped returning her calls. She lives alone now in a small apartment on the wrong side of town. The woman who once looked down on me for shopping at Target now clips coupons just to afford groceries. Some say it is karma. I just say it is consequences. As for me, I finally stepped into my true identity. I am now vice president of the Whitmore Family Foundation, running the charitable arm of my father's empire. We fund education, healthcare, and community development across 12 countries. But my proudest project is something much smaller. I started a program called Second Chance. We provide legal aid, emergency housing, job training, and counseling for women leaving bad marriages. Women who have been abused, cheated on, gaslit, and broken down until they forgot their own worth. In 12 months, we have helped over 3,000 women rebuild their lives. 3,000 women who left, 3,000 women who survived, 3,000 women who remembered they deserved better. The footage from that Christmas gala went viral the morning after it happened. Someone had recorded the entire confrontation and posted it online. 50 million views in the first week, 200 million views by the end of the month. I became an unexpected symbol for a simple message. Know your worth. I receive messages every day from women inspired by my story. Handwritten letters, emails, social media comments, phone calls to my foundation. Dear Mrs. Whitmore, they often begin. I watched your video and I finally left my husband. I watched your video and I reported my abuser. I watched your video and I remembered that I am worth more than how I was being treated. Those messages are why I get up every morning. Those messages are why the pain was worth it. After everything settled, my therapist asked what I had learned. I told her the truth. I learned that the right people will love you in your target dress, and the wrong people will betray you even if you gave them the world. It was never about my money or lack of it. It was about their character. And character is revealed in how people treat those who can do nothing for them. The orchestra began playing Silent Night. Snow fell gently from the machine above. My twins stirred in their stroller. My father squeezed my hand. I am so proud of the woman you have become, Carolyn. I squeezed back. I had my father to thank for so much. His support, his protection, his unwavering love. But I had also learned to thank myself for being strong enough to survive, for being brave enough to stay, for being wise enough to know when to fight. The caterers began serving dinner. I was about to take my seat when a server approached with a small package on a silver tray. Mrs. Whitmore, this was left for you at the front desk. I frowned. I was not expecting any deliveries. The package was wrapped in plain brown paper. No return address, no card on the outside. A chill ran down my spine. I opened it carefully. Inside, I found a leather folder and a handwritten note on expensive paper. The handwriting was elegant, old-fashioned, the kind of penmanship they do not teach anymore. I read the note, and my blood ran cold. Dear Carolyn, your father destroyed my family 20 years ago. He took everything I had built, everything I had earned, everything I had sacrificed for. He threw me out like garbage and erased my name from the company I helped create. I have spent 2 decades planning my revenge, watching, waiting, building my resources, positioning my pieces on the board. Your husband was just the first move. Derek Mitchell was weak, easy to manipulate, easy to corrupt. His mother was even easier, a greedy old woman desperate for status. I simply gave them both what they wanted and let their own ugliness do the rest. But they were pawns, nothing more. The real target was always your father. And the best way to hurt a man like Theodore Whitmore is through his daughter. You survived this round. Congratulations. You are stronger than I expected. But the game is not over, Caroline. It is just beginning. I will take everything from your father the way he took everything from me. His company, his reputation, his legacy, and yes, his family. Watch your back. Watch your children. Watch everyone you love. Because I am watching you. Merry Christmas. The note was signed with a name I had heard only once, in whispered family conversations that stopped whenever I entered the room. Harrison Cole. I looked up at my father. His face had gone pale, paler than I had ever seen it. Dad. My voice was steady even though my hands were shaking. Who is Harrison Cole? He took the folder from my hands. His jaw tightened as he read the note. Someone I thought was gone forever. He opened the leather folder. Inside were documents, financial records, communications between Margaret Mitchell and someone who was definitely not Jessica Blake's father. Margaret had not been working alone. She had not even been working for the Blake family. She had been working for Harrison Cole. The payments had come from his shell companies. The plan had been his from the beginning. But he is not gone, is he? I asked quietly. He was behind all of this. Margaret, Derek, Jessica. They were all his pawns. My father nodded slowly. His eyes were distant, seeing something from the past. It appears so. What happened between you two? What did you do to him? My father was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. 25 years ago, Harrison Cole was my best friend and business partner. We built Whitmore Technologies together from nothing. He was brilliant, creative, ambitious. But he was also ruthless in ways I did not understand until it was too late. He paused. He tried to sell our technology to a foreign government. Weapon systems, surveillance tools, things that could have been used to hurt innocent people. When I found out, I reported him to the authorities. He was arrested, convicted, sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. And now he is out. He has been out for 5 years. My father's voice was heavy. I kept track of him for a while. He moved to Europe, started a new company. I thought he had moved on. I looked at the note again, at the elegant handwriting promising to destroy everything we loved. He did not move on. He was planning. My father looked at me, and for the first time in my life, I saw fear in his eyes. I will protect you, Carolyn. You and the
man.
twins.
Check
I
me
will
with
hire
the
more
right
security.
man. He's
I
got
will
5
find him.
years. No, there's
I will
something wrong
stop
with
him.
that man.
I shook my head. No, Dad. He blinked. No. I looked
This
at
is
the
the
note,
wrong
then at my
Batman.
sleeping children, then at the beautiful gala
Wrong
around me.
helmet.
The
I put
same
this
gala
with
where
the
I had been
wrong.
humiliated, mocked, nearly broken. A year ago, I would have crumbled at this threat. I would have hidden. I would have let fear consume me and waited for someone else to save me. But I was not that woman anymore. I had survived my mother's death when I was 12 years old. I had survived tabloid betrayal that exposed my most intimate moments to the world. I had survived 4 years of marriage to a man who never loved me. I had survived public humiliation in front of 800 people. I had survived preterm labor and 2 weeks in the NICU praying my babies would live. I had survived everything that was supposed to break me, and I was still standing. Here is the last thing I want to leave you with. Your story is not over. Every ending is also a beginning. I thought my happy ending was finding love with Derek. I was wrong. Then I thought it was exposing him and watching him fall. I was wrong
Well, that's the
again.
thing. When
Then I
people
thought it
say
was
like
building my
that,
foundation and helping other women. That was
yeah,
closer, but still not quite right. Now I finally understand there is no ending.
crackheads.
There is just the next chapter. And in every chapter, you get to choose who you are going to be. You can be
Nothing
the
but
victim who
crackheads.
hides, or you can be the warrior who fights. Choose strength. Choose kindness. Choose yourself, because you, exactly as you are enough. You always have been. I tucked Harrison Cole's letter into my purse. We are not going to hide, Dad, I said firmly, and you are not going to handle this alone. He stared at me. Carolyn, this man is dangerous, so am I. I met his eyes. I am your daughter. I have your stubbornness, your intelligence, and your complete inability to back down from a fight. A slow smile spread across his face. The fear in his eyes faded, replaced by something that looked like pride. That is my girl. I straightened my shoulders,
You're
adjusted my diamond earrings, looked around at the gala that had once been my nightmare and was now my kingdom. Whoever Harrison Cole was, he did not know the woman he was
nothing
dealing
but
with. The
crackheads.
woman who had survived everything he had thrown at her and come out stronger. The woman who had built a foundation helping thousands of other women find their strength. He thought he was starting a game. He did not realize I had already won the most important
Nice to
one.
meet you,
I
man.
had
Have a
found
good
myself.
order
I had
of
found my power.
Batman helmet.
I had found my worth. And that woman does not
Oh,
run.
oh,
She does not hide. She does not wait to be saved. She fights. I turned to my father and smiled. Merry Christmas, Dad, he laughed softly. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. The orchestra swelled into a beautiful rendition of Joy to the World. The snow continued to fall. My twins slept peacefully in their stroller, unaware that their mother had just declared war on a ghost from the past. But that is a story for another time. For now, I was going to enjoy this moment, this party, this victory, because I had earned it every single second. I raised my champagne glass of sparkling cider and looked toward the ceiling,
Cool.
toward whatever
Well,
came next. Merry
definitely
Christmas
would have loved to
indeed,
have you
Mr.
call.
Cole.
Let's make
You
sure
wanted a
this is
game?
right, Batman.
Game
Before we get
on.